from financial markets that provides cutting-edge solutions for asset managers, private equity funds, hedge funds, wealth managers, and data providers. The team of 500 professionals brings domain expertise, advanced analytics, skill sets in AI, ML, and NLP, along with technology capabilities to help their clients transform their challenges into opportunities. For the last few years, the company has been successfully working with clients in South Africa, including some industry leaders from banking and finance. Unfortunately, Mr. Sailesh Dhuri could not join us today due to some travel-related issues. Thus, Mr. Vivek Band will be convening today's webinar as the speaker. Mr. Vivek is the Senior Manager under Corporate Research Division at Decimal Point Analysis. We are honored to have you among us, sir. Without any further ado, I would now like to call upon Mr. Vivek Band for this afternoon. Sir, kindly initiate the session with your brief introduction.
Hi everyone. Wish you a very good afternoon. Thanks Yashika for the wonderful introduction to Decimal Point Analytics. So, like Yashika said, Shailesh, is indisposed today, due to some last minute, travel plans. So I'll be taking you guys, taking everyone through, this presentation, that we have prepared. A bit of a introduction from, my end. So I am Vivek Pand. I have been involved, associated with Decimal Point Analytics since the last 10 years. Yes, it's been 10 years. And, I worked through various departments. I started off with the financial research and advisory department. And currently I am, handling the client solutions team, which is primarily responsible for the growth of the existing clients as well as supporting the sales team of the organization. So that's my brief introduction. I guess we can start with the presentation. Allow me a moment to share my screen. Yashika, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So welcome again, everyone. The topic for today's discussion is data analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and its applications in the ever-changing world. This is the brief introduction flow. We'll first walk through, how the technological landscape has evolved over the last, last few centuries. Then, how these applications are, changing, today's world for the better. How analytics, AI, ML, can be used, or rather are being used currently, for mitigating risk. Some examples of how Decimal Point Analytics is working in the space, and a brief about the Decimal Point Analytics to close. So let's start. We'll start with the evolution of the technology landscape. So the technological evolution has started since Industry 1.0, which was towards the end of the 18th century. When Industry 1.0 we know it as, which was started with the invention of steam engines. So this was the first kind of a revolution, we might say, of industrialization and technology as such. However, during this phase, there was still a lot of manual work and manual labor which was involved, which was addressed during the next phase of the industrial evolution, which is towards the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, when assembly lines were introduced and electrification was started, to the masses. This helped in reducing a lot of manual burden on laborers, as well as helping in achieving efficiencies, in tasks, in activities, in industries as a whole. Moving forward, towards the 1970s, automatization came into effect, uh, uh, whereby a lot of advancement in technology and industrial robotics happened. This was achieved through programmable logic controls, industrial robotics, which helped in simplifying and automating a lot of the processes. However, all of this, automation and simplification of tasks, remained very much restricted to very certain areas of let's say factories or industries as such, and the benefits could not be reaped across a wider organization. This brings us to the present, which not exactly present, but it has been in the making since the last decade or so, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning, the age of internet. So what Industry 4.0 helped achieve is interconnecting of these various assets within enterprises through the internet, and this has brought about these smart devices which communicate with each other, integration of technologies, monitoring through various devices, and what this has helped enterprises as a whole in making intelligent decisions, data driven decisions, smart decisions, as we call those. So uh, this has been, the evolution, and I'm sure this will expand, and we might have another level of industry in uh, evolution, industry 5.0, say some years down the line. Moving ahead, let's talk more about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence systems have seen four waves, so to say. So the first wave was at the beginning, right at the beginning, when the industry 4.0 started. So the first wave of AI systems, let's call them expert systems. So what these what the first wave, or the capabilities in during the initial phase of artificial intelligence was that it helped in reasoning over very narrowly defined problems. However, these systems, at the initial phase did not have any learning capability, as well as, no real understanding of, abstracting or reasoning, sorry, not reasoning, but learning. Uh, Over the next 20, 30 years, the second wave of machine learning, or the second wave of capabilities, artificial intelligence capabilities came into the picture. Now, the second wave brought about, good learning, which was not present in the first wave, as well as perceiving of things, of objects, of problems. This solved a lot of problems, during those phases. It helped in classification, as well as, we were able to build capabilities to predict, uh, predict systems, predict, what will happen, if certain cases or if certain conditions were fulfilled. So this is where the second wave of machine learning helped. However, the second wave, or the capabilities, the prediction capabilities, the classification capabilities require a humongous amount of data. Just to give an example, if I want to teach a system, or a machine learning algorithm to identify a cat, so it requires me to, or it required me to, give a lot of inputs, a lot of pictures, running into thousands of pictures, or size of data, and that's when the system could to a very good degree identify the, okay, this is a cat. So this is what the second wave of artificial intelligence, machine learning was all about. Right now we are into the third wave of AI, very early stages of the third wave of AI, which entails deep learning. Now, what the third wave, the capabilities that we have currently, I guess, most of us, would be aware of these. We are listening to, a lot of stuff going on these days. So the third wave, what it does is, it perceives things, so it doesn't just have the ability to reason and learn, but, also to perceive as well as, uh, provide output, which is context based. So, not just, identifying, okay, this is a cat, but, it can help me to understand that why the algorithm came, to this particular decision. So more in terms of, how humans think. This is where, we are slowly moving towards. So, again, to continue with the cat example, instead of, me having to, feed enormous amounts of data, you know, uh, to the system to help it identify, a cat or a picture of a cat. You know, the the systems these days, learn from descriptive and concept contextual models. So, to give an example, I won't be feeding in, tens of thousands of pictures of cat for the, my AI ML based system to identify, a cat, going ahead. But I'll give it a context that, let's say a cat has two eyes, furs, four legs, etc. And, this is the context which, I give, and the system, will learn, will evolve, and be able to tell me that, okay, this is a cat to a certain degree of confidence, through the inputs which have been fed into the algorithm. So that's where, we are right now. We are into this phase where reasoning, learning, perception is happening to a very large degree. Generalizing or abstracting is still in the initial phases, which, will evolve over a period of time. The fourth wave, this is something, which is currently, I guess, we are not into this, but, we are, very soon we could be into this particular wave, which gives, reason based contextual models. So here, the generalizing, the learning, perceiving, all the uh, things, all the, algorithms, which have been fed into the system, will give us, models which will give us systems which, will be able to perform most of the intellectual tasks that, we currently as humans perform. So this was about, the four waves of artificial intelligence. Moving forward, another thing, which has been in the works over the, past many years is DLT, which is digital ledger technology, or, in other words, what we know it is as blockchain. So, artificial intelligence and DLT are, like the yin and yang, which will determine the future of technology. The reason being that, artificial intelligence is probabilistic. It will help in predicting. The algorithms, help in guessing, the reality, what will happen, how it will happen, and it's ever changing. These models, they self learn, they evolve over a period of time. The more they learn, the more they evolve, and, get better at what they are doing. At the same time, what DLT or, blockchain is, it's a deterministic model. It's permanent. So, any transaction which happen, through DLT, they are permanently recorded into the ledgers. So, this helps in, keeping a record, a permanent record of things. And, what helps these is, the algorithms and cryptography, which is the technology behind DLT, to record this reality. So that's about AI and DLT. Now, we'll look at some examples or some use cases, where artificial intelligence and machine learning is helping in making, the world a better place. So, starting with the education, artificial intelligence can be used, it has helped in developing, modern learning techniques, such as experts facilitation. There could be virtual teachers. You don't have to have, a classroom as such, but, virtually, a lot of stuff gets happened. The last 2 years since COVID, we had schools, which were virtually, although it was not through AI or ML, but those were more of teachers working online with students. However, AI could help a lot in overcoming this thing, and students could be uh, learning on their own going forward through intellectual intellectual learning, gamification of courses, which helps in better understanding and quick grasping of a lot of uh, a lot of stuff. Then how higher education can benefit is transforming from the traditional mode of education to a digital learning mode, personalized experience. We have started getting a lot of applications, self-learning courses, which are personalized based on the intellect of the person learning. Be it a student, be it a grown up. The system learns what is the basic level of understanding the basic intellect of some person, and accordingly the courses can be customized, and the learner could have a better experience based on their skill sets. And obviously it could also help in giving you a better learning experience. It facilitates peer-to-peer learning, which is again most beneficial, where a lot of brainstorming can happen, and a lot of ideas can be generated and shared between peers who are learning same the same things. uh, then agriculture is another sector which is currently benefiting, and which would benefit a lot going forward, through advances in artificial intelligence, as well as the internet of things, which is IoT. So let's take an example of how this how this could potentially work, or how this potentially works is there are a lot of sensors which could be placed in and around agricultural fields, which can second by second, which can determine, or which can measure the temperatures, the humidity, the moisture level in the soil, the losses, crop losses which happen, during any season, the concentration of ammonia in the soil. All of this information, can be transmitted through, wireless devices, your modems, or through, gateways to, you know, a centralized system, where all of this data can be monitored, can be analyzed, and a holistic view can be generated. By looking at weather patterns, by looking at crop history of that particular area, of that particular region, and all of this information is again transmitted through wireless.
Can you give a photo, photo
Yes.
video, please?
Hello. Okay. uh, I'll continue. So all of this information, can be transmitted to, let's say farmers, and recommendations can be made based on this analysis. So recommendation like for the type of soil, for the weather that is prevalent in that particular area, the past history, which crops would be the best would be best suited to plant, what kind of fertilizer can be used, what kind of pesticides can be used, and what could be the potential optimal time for harvesting the crop. So this helps, this will help the farmers to be empowered, and to be elevated, and even make them rich by reducing costs and bringing in efficiencies. We look at an example. This is a system which is already in use, which has been developed by Bosch. So what we spoke about, this is what they have already put into practice. So sensors to identify humidity, temperature, etc., which gets passed on to a centralized, over the cloud, to a centralized server or a database, where AI and ML algorithms run, and give suggestions to the respective, either farmers or authorities, monitoring of greenhouse effects, any prevalent diseases among the crops, so on and so forth. So this is a system which is, already in use, developed by Bosch. Looking at, the next application, this is another, solution which has been developed by John Deere to spray herbicides, using ML and artificial intelligence. So how the system works is, it uses a combination of, cloud vision, computer vision, cloud vision, and machine learning to target, weeds. So generally what happens is, weed removing weeds is, one of the difficult tasks, and it could result in a lot of losses. However, using machine learning and computer vision, this tasks, or this particular machine, can be used to, spray target spray weeds, only when it is needed, and only, a quantity in quantities that is required. Again, this, helps in, bringing about efficiencies. You can reduce, how much herbicide you need to spray, which, helps in, bringing in, which helps in reducing costs overall for the farmers. The next application, we are already seeing a lot of different healthcare related applications of artificial intelligence and ML. Some of them, could we have tried to bring about, which are revolutionizing healthcare. One is, using of convenient lines of communication. So, it may not be, in person, visitations to doctors. There could be systems in place, whereby, you input your health data, historical as well as current data, from any location that you are, and it can be, passed on to the relevant doctors or authorities, who can then suggest who can then suggest viable treatment to the patients. Then, there are cloud-based, patient relationship management, where all the history of, patients, are stored in a cloud, which can be accessed. So tomorrow, I'm visiting, out of town, out of city, I'm visiting some place, and so I fall ill. All my medical history is, already present, on the cloud, which can be easily accessed by, the doctor or the, medical personnel at that location, and, they can treat or, give medicines based on, my history of, previous illnesses. So, this is where, a great deal of benefit, could be had from ML to the healthcare industry. Then, we could have, early detection of medical conditions. These days, a lot of treatment happens, once, something has happened to a patient, let's say. However, AI and ML could help in, early detection of conditions, which could help in prevention or, better care, to help avoid those fatal incidences going forward. Next, we look at, another thing which has, come into the spotlight, especially since, COVID, since 2019, ESG. So, data analytics, artificial intelligence, and ML, it can help in assessing the ESG related parameters, or, streamlining of, ESG assessment. Right now, we have a lot of different systems, a lot of different kinds of, let's say, players in the market, so to say, who have their own methodologies to work on, independent ways to, give ESG assessment for, various companies, organizations, enterprises. However, using AI and ML, we could have one single, or, limited number of, assessment tools, which could, be universal, and which could help, investors as well as, enterprises as a whole. So, that's where, AI ML could have a big role to play going forward. These are some of the applications, where AI ML could help in, simplifying or, streamlining the ESG processes. Uh, you know, Next we look, at, we have, already, these are the things, these are the tools, which are already present in the market. Many of us would have, already heard, or even, let's say used, some of these tools, Chat GPT, which is, which can converse with you, in a range of topics. This is a really, advanced level of, application of AI ML, that we are seeing these days. Then there is Whisper, Jasper AI, Synthesia IO, Copy AI. So these are all the tools, with underlying AI ML, uh, algorithms or technology in the mix. And these will just grow in the coming years. This is we believe uh, that this is just the start, and we'll see more advanced applications of machine learning going forward. Another factor which where AI and ML could help is in mitigating risk. Many of these are currently being employed by organizations at various levels. We'll just have a look at 2 or 3 ways, or how AI helps. So to mitigate fraud risk. So any misappropriation of assets, this can be very easily detected by machine learning algorithms. Financial statement frauds. So we at Decimal Point Analytics, we have already built a product which can identify frauds, which are which are part of your financial statements. We'll get to that part in a bit. Then embezzlement and tax evasion. So these are some of the applications where fraud AI can help in mitigating the risks. Next, we'll look at insurance risk. So applicants or claimants, they a lot of data is being collected while insuring. What this data could be supplemented with is alternative or additional data which can help to build a system which can you know predict, or which can help in identify the risk profile of the insurers. So data such as social media activity, the IoT data, how the person's lifestyle is, you know and various types of techniques, ML techniques can be used, can be implemented, and it can help in profiling you know uh, insurer. So let's say someone who doesn't have a very healthy lifestyle, that can be gauged by their spending habits, through their social media activity. And such persons could be a high risk for health insurance. Okay, so by insurance companies can consider all of these factors while providing insurance to such persons. Then credit risk, again, this is one of the uh, products that we have built around credit risk. We'll discuss this in detail. Again, a lot of factors can be considered, can be fed into automated systems, AIML systems, which help in analyzing and making sense out of that data, and predicting the credit risk for enterprises. We'll talk about this in more detail. Yes. So this brings us to the proficiency of Decimal Point in this particular space of data analytics, AI and ML. So we have been using the data analytics, AI ML tools and techniques for the betterment. Most of our products have been designed in a way which could help the wider masses, and help make a difference. So that's where we pride ourselves, making a difference, innovating to for the greater good, and customer centricity, which is always important, to keep your customer before yourself. This has been the aim of Decimal Point Analytics since the first day. Uh, One of the most recent uh, use case, for Decimal Point, whereby we had leveraged, our expertise in, AI and ML, was to identify and label faulty medical devices. This was for a large European conglomerate. So the problem that, this uh, enterprise was facing is, they had come up with, medical devices, which were very critical, and there was some, motor grinding noise, which was emanating from these medical devices. And there were two types of noises which were, coming out from these devices, which were not normal. And what this resulted in was, it reduced the efficiency of these devices, and the medical procedures, which were performed were impacted. And the enterprise had a team at their end, who were trying to identify, what which kind, because not all of these devices, were having these problems. There was, one particular batch, or batches, which had these problems, and it was a very cumbersome, time consuming process of identifying these devices, which had these faulty motors. So, how Decimal Point helped, this particular company, through the use of AI and ML was, we used pictorial representations of sound, so there were two different types of sound. So what we did was, we identified, what those two different kinds of sounds were. We developed algorithms, ML based algorithms where, we categorized, those two different sounds and we labeled them, to identify and to segregate, one from the other. And then, this system, this algorithm was, used to identify the faulty devices, which, greatly reduced time and, the manual work which was going into this, and more importantly, it eliminated human error and, helped in, segregating those faulty devices, you know and finally, they help save, a lot of time, to, retract all of these devices for inspection and, correct those. So that's one of the, recent examples that, we have use cases that, at Decimal Point. We talked about, fraud risk, mitigating fraud risk. So, this is one of our products, Fidelity Pulse, which we had developed a few years ago. So what Fidelity Pulse is, it's a fraud detection tool. It's a methodology based on machine learning algorithms, which employs statistical methods, and it helps to identify and flag potential financial frauds. So how it does is, you give an input of, any kinds of financial statements, okay, and what this algorithm does is, it signals if, any of these, financial numbers in these statements, have been manipulated, and it gives out, or it shows you that, okay, this page, these are the schedules or these are the line items, where some of the numbers are suspect. So, this helps in, further investigation, or at least, it calls for further investigation. The algorithm cannot identify, uh, you know, what kinds of manipulation has been done, but numbers are not in order, and that is what, these algorithms tells us. Then it's up to, the agency, or the people employing, this algorithm to investigate further into these matters. So, this is a very simple tool. It is designed to ingest multiple forms of financial data and helps in identifying discrepancies and outliers. It works on the principle of data science, and the output is generated, once you feed the, your reports, your data into the system, the output is generated within a few seconds. And, we have registered accuracy of more than 90% in, detecting these discrepancies and outliers. We have also conducted POCs, for an Indian regulator. We have conducted a POC with a leading private bank, multinational bank, as well as a German insurance company, for our Fidelity Pulse product. Then coming to the Credit Pulse, or the credit risk identifying product that we have built. So this is again another product, which is based on machine learning algorithm, and it helps in, mitigating credit risk. So, what traditional credit risk analysis does is, it's based on financial numbers and mostly, quantitative analysis, where, many a times numbers can be fudged, and, just to show that, a company is doing good, because that is what the management targets, good top line, good bottom line, and everyone is happy. But what Credit Pulse does is, it goes beyond those numbers. It analyzes textual data. So we have management commentary. We have comments from CEOs, CFOs, in these financial statements. So what Credit Pulse does is the algorithm. It reads this textual data from these filings, your annual or quarterly filings. The algorithm, the algorithm that we have built, it analyzes this textual data and it gives out signals. We have created a scoring system. So, anything above zero point 0.6, can be perceived as a high risk company. Anything below, 0.6 is a low risk company. So, it helps in identifying, fraudulent companies, or, companies which are at the risk of, defaulting, or, which are at the risk of, downgrade in their credit rating. To give an example, recently, we have heard that, Bed Bath and Beyond, last month, they have filed, or they were looking to file for bankruptcy. So Credit Pulse, the algorithm has been giving out a signal that for Bed Bath and Bath. So, since the first quarter of 2022, so we have been getting signals, as looking at the quarterly financials or the quarterly filings of Bed Bath and Beyond. They have been consistently above zero point 0.6, the score for Bed Bath and Beyond. And this has been, for the entire last 4 quarters. And, very recently, when news came out, it was, kind of, okay, this is what the system was predicting, and, this is actually happening now. So that's, one of the, very recent success stories. We have had other success stories also where, we have identified, or, successfully, been able to pinpoint companies way before, at least 2 to 3 quarters in advance, that, something is amiss with this company, and, there could be bad news around the corner. So that's your Credit Pulse, to help mitigate credit risk. Finally, another of our products, AI ML based products. This is an advanced textual analytics tool, that we have built, which can be, an additional layer of, early warning assessment for companies, in addition to, all the, technology or the tools, which are currently being deployed. So what InfoPulse is all about? So InfoPulse is a sophisticated tool which, is, nothing but, repository, or central repository of news articles, filings, your blogs, interviews, RSS feeds, etc., in, one single structured location, a cloud-based uh, data warehouse, where all of this information is stored in a structured format. And, we don't just cover English, but, we also have proficiencies in other languages as well, which is Spanish, German, Italian, and Portuguese, which, an inbuilt tool, converts these languages into, English for, better understanding. News coverage that we have, is index related news, company news, sector news, your key macroeconomic news coverage is, what is part of InfoPulse as of now. We plan to expand this, to cover many more areas going forward. Delivery formats, is your, customized user interface. We can build those APIs, or, we have our own portal, InfoPulse portal. Like I said, the features are, it's a centralized repository of news articles, which are collated from public sources, and, this happens in near real time. So, as soon as, something is something is published, InfoPulse can, track it, catch it, and, get this loaded into the, database. It's a continuous, training, ML based models, it continuously learns, relearns, and, trains itself, to collect and contextualize, the most useful information. And, search and filter options, it's a feature for, the portal that we have, as well as, in case there is a customized UI, which is a requirement. So, there will be search and filter options, which will help in, searching for the most relevant, article or news that someone is looking for. So that was, about our, few products, or, the few areas where BPA is using AI and ML actively. Finally, we come to a couple of slides of what or who we are. So Decimal Point Analytics is nearly a 20-year-old organization now. We have grown from strength to strength, and are currently sit at 700 plus talented professionals. Who are spread out across Mumbai, which is our headquarters, and our two other operational centers in Nasik, as well as in Gift City, Gandhinagar. We have sales offices in London and New York. We are an ISO 27001 certified, as well as ISO 9001 compliant company. And we are a zero carbon emission company. So we really pride ourselves in this particular aspect. Finally, we are talking about AI, ML, data analytics. So this is a general value chain that we look at when we talk about data analytics, and DPA has a presence across all of these you know processes, be it capturing of data, pre-processing of data, analyzing that data, applying AI and ML algorithms on that data to generate analytics, deploying of these AI ML models, and communicating those, which is the most important part. You can apply AI ML, you can get outstanding results, but communicating those effectively, using various kinds of tools, your visualization tools, your reporting in real time. This is very critical, and this is something also which we are proficient at. So I guess that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'm open to question and answers from anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. I'll just ask Yashika to read out the questions that are there in the chat box and you could answer. Yashika?
Yes, ma'am. So, sir, first question is what DPA, being an eminent AI-based organization, can suggest the changes that India can follow to bring efficiency in maintaining database and policy building?
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Ashwin, for that question. So, what I think is that to that stage where we are digitizing most of the paperwork. Even organizations, Indian organizations that we are working with, we are in the process of digitizing. However, this will come, this has to come, from a place where it becomes more of a habit rather than a compulsion. Someone is asking you to do it, is not the solution. But maintaining of databases, building data structure is most important. First of all, building that digital infrastructure, whereby you could have high speed access, high speed internet access, network. When I'm saying digital infrastructure, it means that you should be be able to access data within seconds, within milliseconds, and this will accelerate the process of maintaining of databases and going fully digital. COVID has helped in bringing about a change. We have seen a lot of changes happening over the last 2 to 3 years, where people were forced to work from home, and organizations had to adapt. So the process has already started. However, a bit of more push, especially in terms of infrastructure development, will help in accelerating this process. hope that yes.
So shall we take the next question?
Okay, I can see. Yes, I think we can take the next question.
Okay.
So I think the next question is from Miss Archie. So AI is the excuse me, AI is the future and also brings efficiency in the workforce by detecting the risks. But is it really good for the labor-intensive economy like India? Okay, that's a very good point. Arushi. And thanks for that. So what we have seen, this is an example from our experience going forward, it brings about. Okay, so we have made so many uh, what do you say? We have brought about efficiencies on so many processes of our clients, through automation, through machine learning, and none of the clients are obviously everyone is happy, and but the good thing is that it brings about more work. When you apply AI ML,
Excuse me, sir. I'm really sorry.
efficiencies,
Your voice is breaking.
it will have an impact, no doubt.
So your voice is breaking.
Okay, okay, I'm not so sure. I mean, the network seems to be fine. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now
It's fine now.
audible? Okay, okay, thank you. So we are discussing about bringing about efficiencies, could result in job losses. So this is where the a country like India, will have to invest in educating most of the mundane jobs, repetitive jobs. They eventually will be taken up through automation, through ML. So what we need to do ourselves, in other applications, which will help in more what do you say, more strategic tasks, or more work, which will complement the use of AI and ML. So the we can't reason that resulting in job losses. There will be, we can't say that there won't be, but we need to keep upgrading ourselves also as a nation, to move ahead. Otherwise we will still remain where we have been over the last many years since independence, and even before that. So able to answer your question, Arush.
So we have another question. In the time when we are seeing
Yeah,
the
I think we
sharp,
have another question from
in the time when we are seeing the sharp increase in the prices of the semiconductor chips, so will it impact the prices of AI and ML services?
I'm audible, right?
So should I repeat the question?
No, I got the question. Thanks,
Okay.
thanks, Ashwin, for this. So yes, the semiconductor, the prices have been increasing, consistently, and it will have some impact. I'm pretty sure that it will have impact, because end of the day you require those systems that
Vivek, voice is breaking. I think there is some
for
interference.
that's where the algorithms in my capacity. Okay, it might. I'll just give me a second. I'll try to check my internet connection. Oh, hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir, you're
yeah.
audible.
I have just switched off my video. I guess there is some network issue, so saving bandwidth. Switching off my video.
Okay, sir.
So yes, semiconductor chips. Like I was saying, it will impact the prices, and it will you know have an impact on uh, the prices of the AI ML based solutions. But again, it depends on the scale that you are operating at. If you require a large amount of server power or bandwidth, that will increase your costs. But eventually, the kind of cost savings that your clients or your customers will attain. I think more or less these increased costs will take care of those efficiencies that we bring about. uh, okay, any other question? I guess we have 5 more minutes. I'll be happy to answer maybe one more question. Okay, I guess we have a question from Ms. Divya Srivastava. How do we address the lack of creativity in AI as outcomes that AI provide are based on fixed algorithms? How does AI respond to different scenarios? Also, there is no factor such as ethical or emotional values. Okay, those are very good points, Divya. Thanks for that question. So, I'll try to answer, this particular question. So, we saw, the four waves of, AI, AI capabilities. So, I mentioned that, we are in the third wave right now, where, uh, we have already started conversing, applications such as chat, GPT, etc. Requirement of less number of sample data to give you a desired result. The next phase, or the next wave that we spoke about, which was wave 4. This is where wave 3, wave 4. This is where you could have uh, you know uh, not the black box technology that we have. So like you mentioned that these are fixed algorithms, and the outcomes are more or less pretty much similar each time. So the going forward, we believe, or I believe, that the systems, or the capabilities that will be built, AI and ML capabilities is we don't just solve those problems, but the algorithms will be able to tell you that how they came about uh, the particular solution, or the particular recommendation which they have given. So right now the system is okay. You feed in the data, the output which is generated is XYZ. Then it is up to you, to interpret that, and take it on the face value. However, going forward, there will be systems in place, which will outline that if a particular outcome has been suggested by your algorithm, how it arrived to it, what is the logic that has been used, to arrive at that particular uh, uh, recommendation or output. So that will hopefully make AI less boring, more creative, so to say. And Yeah, I hope I managed to answer your question. Yes, thank you. I guess we are running out of time, Yashika. You know,
I think we're done with the questions and we'll wind up the session with this. I would like to express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates of this digital seminar for their presence and contribution to make it a great success. I extend my gratitude to Decimal Point Analytics and Mr. Vivek Band for taking out time out of his busy schedule to give us an understanding of the data analytics, AI, and ML applications in today's ever-changing world. Thank you for the insightful session, sir, we have received from you. We hope that our participants must have greatly benefited from it. Thank you so much.
thank you, Yashika. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.